Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles Sebastian, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we'll give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a hell of a show for you guys that we definitely want to get into. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. This is a topic that we had no intention of producing today, but I said to myself, this topic is just so interesting. And I think that the audience is going to love it, that we're going to do everything that we can in our powers to produce it today. So here we are talking about it today. Today, something unprecedented took place on ESPN First Take. They spent a 45-minute segment on one topic. And on the panel was Monica McNutt, I think is her name, Shannon Sharpe, Stephen A. Smith, and Molly Qerim. And they were talking about the whole drama surrounding Caitlin Clark and everything that's happening with her, especially that dirty, cheap shot that took place in a recent game that she was playing in. And in the midst of that, the conversation now started to evolve into the coverage of the WNBA. And essentially what you saw was Monica and Molly versus Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith. And it was getting, they were kind of boiling up. Right, you could see the temperature slowly rising in the room, and they were trying to basically discuss the nuance of how Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith, in terms of how tactful they needed to be to cover this particular story. So then, what happens in the midst of all of that? Stephen A. Smith, after they kept on interrupting and telling him to stop, and him and Molly kind of had a moment. It seemed like Stephen A. Smith reached his breaking point. And when it came time for him to talk towards the tail end of this segment, not only did Stephen A. Smith go off, he also ended up saying something that caused moderator Molly Qerim to get visibly uncomfortable as he pointed out the discrepancies that exist between the way men are covered in sports versus how women are covered in sports. And this is at the heart of the topic that we want to get into today. I think you guys definitely want to stick around for this show here. But before we even get into this exchange here, this video is brought to you by our brand new sponsor, Game Time, who's the official sponsor of today's show. Game Time makes getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier than ever before. For example, I am super excited about the games between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals. With Game Time tickets, I can easily pick the best tickets for me. I love that I can choose between different deals. I have the option to select the cheaper deal, the best option deal, or my favorite, the flash deal. The flash deal gives me the option to find discounts that I can only find on Game Time. Once I select the ticket I want, I can view my seat. And it's not just restricted to the NBA. I can also look for the best ticket deals for other sports like football, baseball, or concerts, or comedy or theater shows. Included in my purchase, I also have a 24-hour return guarantee, a lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do now is want to play this exchange for you now. I want you guys to listen to it in its entirety, and then we're going to come back and really get into the show. Take a listen to this here.
We all agree that this play was unacceptable, but in general, this is still competition.
That's my biggest mistake. You're right, guys.
Shannon ain't gonna say
I
it,
look
baby.
at other people as I see myself.
Shannon ain't.
Oh my God.
Go ahead,
Shannon
Stephen
ain't
A.
gonna say it, but Shannon ain't gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. The word is resentment, and I'm talking about what I feel about this whole conversation. Nobody said all. Nobody painted the WNBA with a broad brush. We're talking about a young lady that has come into the sport and is contributing to the financial backbone of the WNBA and simply imploring everybody to see the big picture and how it serves to benefit the whole. And because we brought that up, it's turned into a conversation with resentment, jealousy, whatever. I'm saying, the resentment is legit, but it's also justified if you've been in the league busting your tail to help uplift it, and then somebody comes along and before they play one game, you're labeling them the savior. A lot of people, a bunch of men would feel resentment towards that too. But we bring it up here, and all of a sudden we got to safeguard and couch every little syllable when we're talking about competition and we're talking about the league and we're talking about revenue and money and how everybody wants to get paid. What's the maximum salary in the WNBA, Eminem? Isn't that like $241,000 or something like that? Is that
it's
the
like
number?
$250.
250, right?
Yeah.
$250,000. These girls are stars. They're doing commercials now. They're going to be making dollars upon dollars on Madison Avenue, and they deserve it. We're talking about them maximizing their great potential. And because we bring that up and talk about what potentially might get in their way, which we do to men all the time, now we got to sit up here and watch every syllable. I resent that, and I'll leave it at that.
All right, so let me. I know we got to go to break. Welcome to the world of being a woman, Stephen A., and how you have to dance about your word choice and you have to please everybody and anybody as you navigate your being. We are talking about the world's greatest
How about being a black man?
Being black.
Hold on 1 second.
Have you?
So this is what I'm saying to y'all, though, and I know we got to go to break, and we didn't necessarily go there, and maybe we should. There are so many layers in this conversation around the way that it's being discussed. No. And yes, Shannon, I know y'all are going to say and Stephen A., I know you just shared that you have talked about the WNBA on your program too. You guys may not have said everybody, but the prevailing sentiment for folks that are just joining the WNBA and following women's sports is unfair to the women of this league, to your point, who have laid the groundwork for Caitlin Clark to come in and now take it to the next level. That's all I'm saying in these conversations. Kennedy Carter's behavior is not indicative of the entire league. We are still talking about competition where you are allowed to get a little extra elbow in if you are competing and you do it within the parameters of the game. The game is physical. Caitlin is helping to grow the league. These women understand that, but she cannot be babied as a rookie. That's all I'm at.
All right.
Who talks about the WNBA? Who talks about women? Who talk about women's sports more than First Take?
Stephen A., respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this 3 years ago if you wanted to.
Wow. All right, we got to go. You guys.
So did you say
you're my guy, but
who does more than
Stephen
us?
A., I'm talking to you. Wow. Don't do that. I'm talking to you about the power that you have.
Okay.
I'm talking to you.
Okay.
All right, let's.
You're my guy, but I'm talking to you.
I got it.
Guys, I really appreciate
you're my girl, but you've missed a lot of episodes of First Take. You missed a lot.
Stephen A., 3 years ago, you would not talk about the W at this level. Don't do that.
Guys,
Nobody was, Monica.
Guys,
you making Stephen A.'s point, Monica. You making Stephen A.'s point.
Please let me do my job. Please let me do my job. We've gone for 40 minutes straight. It was a riveting discussion. I have to get into commercial break.
So you heard what was said here. Look, there's a whole lot to unpack here. First of all, let's start from the end. Towards the tail end there, I don't know if you guys heard it, but there was a part where Monica called out Stephen A. Smith, and he was floored. And you can see he was really taken aback. And she was like, Stephen A. Smith, to keep it 100 with you, this job that you're doing now, you could have been doing it years ago. 3 years ago, you could have been talking about the WNBA, but all of a sudden today you're talking about it. And Stephen A. Smith looked genuinely hurt by her comments. Number one. Number two, it looked like she was calling him out on live TV and trying to show him up. Now, she said she wasn't, but that's how it came across as. And then he responded to her by saying, then it's clear that you've not been watching First Take over the last 3 years. That's the first part. To get back to the original comments, listen, I think that Stephen A. Smith brings up a very important point, which is we have to dance around these issues and the words that we use and how we say things, our tonality, when we're talking about women in sports. But when we're talking men in sports, it's a free-for-all. You can call this guy a bum, a scrub, it's an embarrassment, this, that, use every word that we can holler, scream, and all of that. But when it comes time for the way we talk about women in sports, all of a sudden we need to take a much more subtle approach. And that is a nuance that he pointed out. And oh, by the way, something that had never occurred to me. Never. It just seemed to be a reality that existed that we never paid attention to because it was a norm. It was a norm. And that's why when he said it, you could see Molly get visibly uncomfortable. The fact of the matter is the following. If we covered Caitlin Clark the way, and some of these female athletes, the way that we cover, I don't know, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, whoever you name him, it would be a public uproar. Quite literally. And I'll give you guys an example of what I mean. There was a female Olympian. She was a gymnast. I forgot her name. She's the most decorated gymnast in the United States. A black and African-American girl. I forgot her name. She's not very tall. And it was when she went to the Olympics and then she didn't perform up to par. And I think she ended up dropping out of the Olympics. I think this was like in 2020. And they were like, she was saying she was going through some mental challenges or something like that. And there was this groundswell of support around her. Oh man, this is something tough that she's going through. And, it must be difficult to have these issues, mental stuff that she's dealing with, which is true, which is fine. But then I realized, and I remember pointing this out years ago, I said, so we're going to put our arms around her because she's going through some mental challenges. But when Paul George came out and said that he was having some mental difficulties and it was tough on him mentally, being in the Orlando bubble, everybody called Paul George weak, including men. Including men. Simping ass men, including them. Yeah, Paul George, you supposed to get it together. Come on, man. What's wrong with you? You a soft. How are you talking about you having tough on you mentally? Shake it off and walk it off. That was the double standard that existed then. The fact is, if we cover women the same way we cover men in sports, it would be so much chaos that would take place every day. Because people will say, why are you attacking her? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And we become so comfortable talking about men in the way that we do. And in some cases, they act like men are not even human beings. Society has gotten to the point where in some cases, they act like men are not human beings. Let's be for real. Men don't, if a man tells you about his pain, oh, shut up and go sit down. Nobody cares about your pain. After all, you're a man, walk it off. But if it's the opposite, oh, all of a sudden we need to sit down. We need to have a kumbaya. We all need to discuss this. What does she really mean by this? It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And that's the nuance that the hypocrisy that Stephen A. Smith pointed out. And this is why Molly couldn't say anything. Quite literally. She got uncomfortable because she knew at that moment, he got me. And there's no retort from me here. So what I want to know from you guys, what do you think about this segment? What do you think about the arguments that we put forward? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you on the next show. Peace.